steps. Okay, so welcome to session 4 of Parkinson Good Start. So our topic today is the importance of exercise. And so I want to welcome Dr. Nate Coomer as our guest today. And Nate is one of our favorite speakers because he's doing such great work. I like to make him blush too, but he's doing such great work in the exercise and physical therapy realm in Parkinson's, and his enthusiasm in his approach and the amount that he cares for all the people in this community is really fantastic. So we love to have him here. And I think he's a good wrap up of these 4 sessions, because the first 2 sessions, you know, it's medication. And then the third session is nutrition and changes there. And then this one, bringing Nate on with his enthusiasm towards exercise and helping you find out what is good for you and your body and finding stuff that loves, I think is a good way to just put a nice bow on this package. So, so thank you for being here, Nate. Nate is a doctor of physical therapy. He'll tell you all about his little certifications and stuff, which I can never remember. But he is the founder of the Parkinson's Fitness Project, which does physical therapy and exercise specifically to Parkinson's, and then has an online component called the Daily Dose. So he'll tell you a little bit more about that. And so I am going to let him take it away and chat about this exercise and movement piece. So thanks, Nate.
Thank you, Jen, for making me blush. I appreciate that. It's nice to meet all of you. And for those that are watching this later, hopefully this is beneficial for you too. Jen, I'll probably have people talk through the chat. So do you want me to mute or should we keep?
I can mute all, and then people can ask questions through the chat.
Yeah.
And then if we open it up to questions, people can unmute themselves if you want.
Yeah, I think I'll do it that way. Since this is being recorded, I'll try to get through the gist of it and then open it up for questions. But if you have questions throughout or ideas or topics, just chat them and I can see them, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so I'm going to mute you all, and then Nate, you'll probably need to unmute yourself.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'm back. So it's nice to meet you all. Thank you for taking the time out to join me. I hope, like Jen says, I hope I give you a little bit of a nice way to end this up and on a positive note. That's one of the things that I love about my job, is that the evidence is very clear that physical therapy for Parkinson's disease is helpful in slowing the progression of symptoms of the disease. And hopefully we can give you some information on why PT and exercise in general are so helpful in dealing with this disease, and hopefully give you a little motivation to continue on with exercise and some focus areas for you with exercise through this talk. I just want to get a show of hands, if I can. How many of you are currently exercising regularly? Just a hands up wave. Good. So hopefully I can give you some ideas of how to use exercise a little better, or optimize it to you, and then make you move a little bit today, and talk to you about some resources that you can use if you're in need of a good therapist, or getting into a good exercise program as well. And then we'll open it up for questions. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to pull up a little PowerPoint. Nothing special. You don't feel like you have to take notes or anything like that, but hopefully it gives you some good, realistic, easy to use clues or tips going forward. So I'll share my screen.
And I can share this PowerPoint with you in the post-event email along with the recording.
Sounds good. Let's go with. And I'm gonna present. Jen, can you give me a thumbs up if that looks okay? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm Nate Coomer. I have a bunch of initials after my name. They don't really mean much other than I'm a physical therapist. The DPT stands for Doctor of Physical Therapy, which is the degree for physical therapy these days. I graduated from Northwestern University in 2006. So anybody out there from Chicago, I miss you. And that NCS on the back of my name just stands for a clinical exam I took after I was certified as a PT to show that I treat neurologic diseases and diagnoses, and have a kind of a specialty area in neurologic diseases. I have a power certification, which we'll talk more about later. It's a special certification in exercise for Parkinson's disease, and LSVT Big. Show of hands, how many of you have heard of power or LSVT Big before? I can't see you. Let me get back. There we go. Yeah, a few of you. Okay, great. Okay, so we'll talk more about that as well. I'm going to bring this up and move on forward. This is a picture of our clinic. We like to have fun. We have a couple different sites around the Seattle area. That's where I'm coming from today. We have a good team. Before the pandemic, we used to have nice group classes. We love those group classes. We are excited to start back with some of our group classes in January here at Bellevue. But you can see a few of the friendly faces. It's not just me at our clinic. It's also my kids over in the left-hand corner. They bug us every so often. My wife works with us. Our office manager, Jeanette, has Parkinson's, and hopefully we are filling all her checklist of what she needs to stay healthy and safe, as long as possible with this disease. And hopefully we're building a community of other people that are fighting, to push forward with this disease. A lot of people ask me why I got into Parkinson's. I don't have a family member or anybody that I have close to me that has the disease. I have always felt a bigger pull towards neurologic diagnoses. And when I started to treat Parkinson's primarily about, 10 years ago, I realized this was an area that I had a really important role to play. I felt like for the first time in my career, like I really can be an important part of somebody's life as a physical therapist. And the research is so clear that physical therapy is beneficial. I became really passionate about it. And then when I saw the research about what I'm going to present to you today, it made me even more motivated to do something that was a little bit more, I guess, less sterile than a hospital environment. I wanted people to feel like they were coming to a gym, feel like they were motivated, feel like they could keep pushing forward, and feel like they were around others that felt the same way. And so that's why we started the Parkinson's Fitness Project. We call it a project because we do things a little differently than the normal conventional physical therapy, where you might go to a sports medicine facility in an outpatient clinic or a hospital facility. We tried to mesh the two, so it feels more like a gym and less like a hospital visit. We want to see people as consistently as possible. So we offer group classes, one-on-one training, physical therapy through insurance. And then we also have an online platform where before the pandemic, we were doing Zoom. So I feel like I should get like Zoom original member status or something, because we were there a few years before that. So it feels good. And that's called Daily Dose PD. And we put up 8 workouts a week. So we wanted people to have exercise virtually. And now everybody's jumped on. So we feel like we were trendsetters there. But it's been good to see so many other resources online now. I'm going to present to you 5 key aspects. I always do this. We're going to do a pop quiz at the end. So you got to be remembering all these aspects of Parkinson's exercise, okay? Well, I'm giving you the answers already. It's consistency, intensity, amplitude, function, and cognition, but I'm going to talk more about each one of those. So first off, my biggest thing is a lot of times when people get diagnosed, their doctors say exercise is good, but they don't really tell them anything more about what to do for exercise. Have any of you, you can show of hands is great. Have any of you ever had that experience where you got diagnosed, but then there wasn't a whole lot of pathfinding on what was best for you or resources to give you in terms of what you need to do? And I felt like somebody that has seen people with Parkinson's struggle with how to take all this information in, the feelings of being overwhelmed by so much nutrition, medications, exercise, that sometimes you may just need somebody to lay it out very easily for you and let you know that this is all doable. I want people to know that any exercise is good. At the end of the day, movement is matters and movement is good. And the research is pretty clear that as long as people are moving, they're getting more benefit than being sedentary. So a lot of my patients feel like they're not doing enough for exercise, and I don't want that to be the case with any of you leaving here today. I want you to feel like you can do this. Okay, so sorry, learning where my keys are. So why is exercise so beneficial for Parkinson's disease? The research has shown very clearly that it slows the symptom progression of the disease. It may not slow the overall timeline of the disease, but how we manage this disease really matters. We know this is a disease we're going to have for the rest of our life when we're diagnosed. How we manage it, how we move throughout this course of our life is really important. I always say the quality of life is really what matters, whether you have Parkinson's or not, whether you're a normal, healthy person that just sits on the couch all day versus somebody that's active and socially engaged. I think that's all we really care about in life, anybody, myself. So how can we do that? How can we help people have a high quality of life with Parkinson's disease? It comes down to movement, management with medications, and nutrition. All those three things are really important. But why exercise? It's because we're driving blood flow up to our brain. So we're getting oxygen up to our brain. We're bringing nutrients into our brain that help nourish those nerve cells that we need to keep healthy. It helps to decrease inflammation in our brain. And when we think about Parkinson's disease, it's a chronic disease. Our body's immune system automatically wants to fix things. And sometimes that can become a problem by giving us more inflammation in our brain and in our brain tissue. And so bringing in blood flow on a regular basis, increased blood flow that brings in more oxygens and anti-inflammatory properties, helps to keep that brain functioning normally. We increase something called BDNF when we work out. So brain-derived neurotrophic factor, big words, doesn't have to mean anything other than insulation. If you can think insulation, we have a protein coating on our nerve cells that helps them transmit signals faster, and that's called BDNF. So when we have more BDNF, the signals travel faster, just like electrical wiring. If they don't have good insulation, they're not going to travel. They're not going to get to where they need to get to. So when we have enough BDNF, when we're increasing BDNF, we're keeping our nerve cells healthier. And that happens with exercise. We also use dopamine more effectively. I always use the terminology or the phrase, Jen's probably heard me say it plenty of times. We're using the gas our brain needs more efficiently. So it's like we're going from a Hummer to a Prius when we're exercising more effectively or efficiently. We're using the gas that we have in the tank, the dopamine in the tank, more effectively, and we push it to the areas that we need it most, like our motor cortex, the area that controls movement and fluidity of movement and coordination of movement. So we get the most out of the dopamine we have. A lot of people ask, you make more dopamine when you exercise. There's some research out in the past couple of years that may suggest that we do create more dopamine, but it's not on a big enough scale to say definitively yes. However, we know definitively that we use the dopamine we have more effectively, and we're trying to get as much mileage out of that dopamine as possible. Exercise is the only intervention that has been shown to slow the progression of symptoms of the disease. So, medications are helping you mask those symptoms throughout the day and help you thrive and be able to move well. They're very important, but they do not slow the symptom progression. And so there's a difference there. We want to slow the symptom progression. I had a gentleman in here last night, just has a little bit of tremor in his right hand. And I always say that's where we want to keep it for as long as possible. So we have to work on interventions that keep you there and exercise that keeps you right there to slow anything else from coming along. this is just a nice visual of what we're trying to achieve. You can see this is a long story short. This is on the, I guess, the y-axis. We have amount of dopamine in our system, and we have age on the x-axis. Up at the top, the blue line is a normal person with exercise. We know that normal people lose dopamine at a certain rate too. As we all get older, we lose everything we lose. So if we all grew to be 120 years old, we'd all be diagnosed with Parkinson's, because we're losing it at a certain rate. But a person with exercise tends to move and function better and has more dopamine in their system. A normal person without exercise, we see a trend down a little faster towards loss of dopamine. We believe the dotted line is a person that may be more likely to develop Parkinson's disease if they've been exercising their whole life. And a lot of people say this, well, I've been an exerciser my whole life. I've been moving my whole life. You may have prevented that onset of Parkinson's by years by your good habits early on in life. And then the red line shows a vulnerable person or somebody likely to develop Parkinson's disease that has not been overly active. And you can see that the time to get to that 30 is 30% of dopamine innervation in our brain. So the amount of dopamine we have left in our brain, 30% is where we actually start to show symptoms of the disease. So sometimes, researchers will say, people don't really show symptoms until they lost 70% of their dopamine. But if we've been exercising longer, we can show that we can change this path and this course, even after we've been diagnosed with the disease. That gray line coming off of the red is what we can do with exercise, so the slope doesn't have to be as steep. Okay, I'm going to talk about 5 exercise keys. We've told you that exercise is important. Hopefully we've shown you that exercise matters in good ways for the brain, not just the body. Although building strength and balance and flexibility is super important. Those physical positives or benefits of exercise are great, but we've shown you, like with BDNF, more efficiency with dopamine use, increased blood flow, increased oxygen, decreased inflammation. That's why we're having such positive effects with exercise with Parkinson's disease. Now, the research has been pretty clear that there's 5 areas that we need to think about when it comes to exercise. One of which is consistency. So I hope you all raised your hand, said you were exercising regularly. I'm going to give you a show of hands. How many of you are working out 50 minutes to an hour a week at least? Can you raise your hands if you're doing that? Great. Not to single anybody out. How many are working out 150 minutes a week? That'd be 2.5 hours. Let's go with 200 minutes a week. Do you think any of you are over 200 minutes a week? Great. That's awesome. So that 150-minute threshold is what we're trying to achieve. A woman named Miriam Rafferty, she's a good friend of mine. She lives and works back in Chicago at the Rehab Institute of Chicago and has done some great research through Northwestern to show that people that are carrying a high quality of life with this disease self-report their exercise routine to her over the course of 2 years. And those that were working out for 150 minutes a week or more with a moderate intensity of exercise were showing highest quality of life. So they were one of the outliers. She was trying to figure out who has this disease and is still reporting they're living a good, independent, high quality of life. And one of the outliers, one of the things that set those folks apart was the amount that they were exercising on a consistent basis. Now, over that 2 years, if those people that were working out 150 minutes or more dropped off, their quality of life scores dropped off. If people that were working out under 150 minutes started to work out more and get over that threshold, their quality of life indicators went up. So there's something about getting in that 150 minutes a week. That's 2.5 hours a week. That's 20 to 25 minutes a day. It's not much, right? So I was saying at the start, I don't want you to be overwhelmed. 20 to 25, 30 minutes a day of moderately intensive exercise. That's the other thing, intensity that's coming next. is so key. So think about your work week, think about your workout schedule, think about how often you're working out, and make sure that you're getting that 150 minutes in. And we also saw that those patients down at the bottom, not those patients, those people that were reporting their scores, if they were up above 150 minutes, were also reporting improved walking independence and higher quality of life, right? So they were walking better. There's also some good research to show they're more balanced and safer, decreased risk of falls. But that 150 minutes is key. That's number one, consistency. Number two is intensity. So they kind of go hand in hand. That 150 minutes has to be intensive. And when we talk about intensity, it can be complexity of the exercise. It can be the challenge with focus that you're required to use. It's also the intensity in terms of cardiovascular output. So how hard are you working? We want to push blood flow. So the more our heart rate is pumping, the more blood we're pumping up to the brain. And we can get this in many different ways. A lot of people have read the biking research that was probably some of the most the first research for intensity with exercise for Parkinson's disease in the early 2000s out of the Cleveland Clinic that looked at biking. And really it was looking at forced use, making people bike at a certain revolutions per minute or speed. And they found that people that were working up above 90 or 80 to 90 revolutions per minute were having improved function after they got off of the bike. And that's where we started to figure out, oh, this intensity really matters. And now we found that intensity in any way matters. It doesn't have to be just the bike. So don't get that research confused with you have to bike. If you enjoy biking, bike. If you hate biking, let's find something else that you can do. So a 6 out of 10 is where we want to be or higher. When I say 6 out of 10, that's a rate of perceived exertion. If you're working out and you're thinking of how hard am I working on this workout, you should be at least at a 6 out of 10 in difficulty. Now that could mean you're breathing hard, you'd have trouble keeping up a fluid conversation with friends, maybe you're breaking a sweat, although some people don't sweat like they used to based on changes that happen with the disease, so don't always make that an indicator. Heart rate should be at 60 to 70% of heart rate max. I can give you the calculation to figure that out, but I also have noticed and know that the changes that happen with this disease sometimes don't allow our heart rates to jump up like they used to when we were younger. So I really try to get people to think about this rate of perceived exertion as much as possible and rate themselves, because we know through the research that that's a pretty good indicator of how hard you're working out. If you really want to know and really want to watch your heart rate, you can use a simple equation. You can take the number 220, subtract your age. So I'm 20, maybe. So I'd be 200. That would be my max heart rate if I was 20 years old. And then if I take that number, that's my max heart rate. Most of the research looks at people going somewhere in the 60, 70, or even 80% range of their max heart rate. So I just take 70%, say, of 200. And that would be the heart rate that I would want to get to. I think that's 140 if I was a 20-year-old male. So I'd want to achieve 140 for that 150 minutes of exercise. So that's kind of the caveat that we're talking about. A lot of people are working out, but are you working out to a point where you're getting to that 6 or 7 out of 10 on a rate of perceived exertion or on your heart rate every week, in and out? That's what really matters. That's what really drives people to have consistent, slowed progression of symptoms over time. So keep those two things in mind, where anything we can do to make things more complex or more challenging can increase the intensity. And I can now say that yoga can be intensive because I have been doing it for the last 3 months, and I am a full believer that the yoga I'm doing, I'm sweating on the mat and I'm breathing hard and I'm definitely focused. So it would be at least a 6 out of 10, so that I don't fall over and knock over the Christmas tree. So we've got intensity, we've got consistency, we've got amplitude next. Before I go on, I just mentioned that, that's something I always want to bring up. If you feel like you're working out, but you're not getting that intensity you need, that's the point when you can actually go in and talk to a physical therapist or a trainer that has some experience with Parkinson's disease and tell them, hey, I know I need to get to this 150 minutes, but man, I can't get it. I'm on the bike, but I just can't push myself hard enough. There's some other tricks we can use if you're not getting to that intensity. If you're walking out in the community, that walking should be intensive. And if you don't feel like you're getting that intensity, if you don't feel like you're breathing hard or working hard, then you should get in and talk to somebody about how you can make it better. Because if you're using that time, let's make that time worth it for you. Let's make sure you're getting intensity, whether it's dual tasking, whether it's thinking about, whether it's tracking your number of steps on your walk to make sure that you're walking big and taking long strides, whether it's working on increasing your speed and having goals that you need every week to hit those when you're outdoor on your walks or on your bike or on your treadmill or elliptical. Whatever you're doing, we want those minutes to go into the bank of good exercise. So if you don't feel like you're getting it and you're kind of stuck, that's the point when finding a physical therapist that can talk you through these things is important. And I'll give you some resources to look at later on how to find those if you don't have any in your area. Amplitude is number 3. So we got intensity, consistency, and we have amplitude, big movements. How many of you, some of you raised your hands about LSVT, big and power? That's where all this big movement comes from. Parkinson's is a disease with one characteristic symptom called bradykinesia, or slowness, smallness of movement. That comes from our inability to kind of calibrate how big we need to move because of that lack of dopamine that's in our brain. It's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault, but it comes with this disease. And researchers and therapists have shown over time that when we move bigger with exercise, bigger than we think is necessary, we get more bang for our buck, right? And we move with better balance. We have improved walking speed and we have improved transfers, getting up and down out of chairs when we practice these big movements. So you guys are all going to join me for a big movement here. I want you to see what that feels like so that you understand the difference. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to turn over this way. Hopefully y'all can see me. I think that'll work. And feel free to stand up. You don't have to, but oh, there you go. See, that makes me feel good. So we're going to start off. This is simple. We're going to do 10 squats. If you need a chair, hold on to that chair in front. Okay? You can just hold on or something to your side. I don't want anybody to fall today, but we're just going to go down and up 10 times, 10 squats, up, down, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now think about how hard you were working there. I hope my head's still in the screen. I think it is. Think about how hard you were working there. And now I want you to follow me. We're going to do these movements with amplitude now. Imagine you're sitting down to a low seat. Your feet are wide. Our hands are coming all the way forward to counterbalance. Stretch those arms all the way out. Spread those fingers. Get down low. And now we're going to come up and we're going to pull those hands back. I want you to count really loud. I want you to say 1, nice and loud. We're going to come back, stretch the hands, get as big as you can. 2, down. 3, get down low. 4, down. 5, down. 6, down. 7, down. 8, down. 9, down. 10. Good job. Now, pay attention to how you feel between the two. I would hope that most of you felt like the bigger movements were a little more effortful. And having somebody guide you through those movements helps to get that bigger size, right? There's a whole type of training called LSVT Big. The same woman, Becky Farley, has started power certification, which is Parkinson's wellness recovery, that a lot of us as therapists took as training courses to lead us down this path. but those are power moves or LSVT big movements that keep us moving large and also make exercise more effortful. And so whether it's strength training, like getting up out of a low seat, which we were just practicing, or practicing our balance steps, or our ability to lunge forward to pick up something off the ground. We do a lot of movements in here that are functionally based, but also working on getting us to move bigger so that we get more effort intensity out of our exercise. And so if you're somebody that deals with slowness, shuffling of gait, having trouble getting out of low seats, difficulty with turning in tight areas, those are the prime symptoms that really can benefit from amplitude training or big training. Some people with Parkinson's don't deal with a lot of bradykinesia, to be honest. We have some people that come in here and really don't struggle with size of movement. They may be more unbalanced or whatever it may be. So, not everybody needs to put amplitude as like the primary focus, but it really has been shown to improve walking, transfers, balance in the general population with Parkinson's disease. And we try to implement it into our daily routines and our workouts online and in here all the time. So if you haven't had somebody work with you on on exercises that might improve amplitude, working with a trainer who has a certification or a physical therapist that has a certification in LSVT or power would be good. And I'll do this now. You can find those therapists both at, I believe it's, I know PWR, Parkinson's Wellness Recovery, PWR4life.org. So 4 is just the number 4, not FOR, but the number 4. PWR4life.org has a directory where you can find power trained therapists in your neighborhood or in your community. You can also reach out to Jen or anybody at APDA. They can also help you find a therapist or a trainer that might be close by. And if all else fails, you can always shoot me an email. I might know somebody in your area too, because we're a small group of people, and a lot of people, we kind of have a Facebook group where we can find connections for folks. It's really important that you have a therapist on your side that knows something about Parkinson's. These folks have all been trained in Parkinson's exercise and therapy. So good place to start out. On that same point, now we've done intensity, consistency, amplitude. Now number 4 is function. So we need good exercises that work on the areas that we have trouble with. I would hope that all of you can name 2 or 3 things that are difficult for you throughout the day, whether it's getting out of bed, rolling around in bed, getting the sheets off of us, getting dressed, getting up out of chairs, reaching down into low surfaces, getting out of the car, reaching back to get the seat belt, walking, right? Getting upstairs. There are many things that people do during a normal day, but can't do them as easily as they used to because of this disease. And part of that may be size of movement, part of it may be strength, but at the end of the day, we need to find those things that are hard for us during our normal life and practice them repeatedly during our exercise. There's the term is mass repetition. It's repeating those movements that are difficult for us over and over and over. Practice makes perfect. But the research is really clear. When we practice those challenging things, we can get better with them. And so whether it's getting up and down, like I showed you like we just did, that was practicing getting up and down off of low surfaces. If you're somebody that has trouble with it, I'd have you at home working on a dining room chair, if that's where you have trouble getting out of, getting up and down and just touching that chair every time. So you have the reminder of how big you need to move, but you're practicing it every day other than just those 2 or 3 times that you're having a meal. If it's rolling in bed, we need to practice rolling in bed and make it more challenging for you, forced use, increased intensity, but we need to practice those things throughout the day. A lot of us don't think about exercise as practicing the movements that are hard for us, but we try to implement them into everything that we do with patients with Parkinson's that are having trouble, whether it be stepping out of the shower, getting out of the car. We need to simulate those things so that they're doing them throughout the day in their exercise. Weight shifting is another huge area that I really feel as I work more and more with Parkinson's, it just comes in so often in so many different areas. So let's do 4 movements here today, because I want you all to feel like you did something while you were working with me. I'm going to bring it back over this way. And if you want to stand up, you can. If you just want to watch me, so be it. But I'm kind of boring. It's a lot more fun to move yourself. So you already did the squats. So we're going to start there. We're going to come down and up. We're just going to do 5 of those. Down, up. I want you to imagine that chair is right behind you. You're sitting all the way down to it. You're coming all the way up. That's 3. Down, up. Pulling those shoulders back to remind you of nice, tall posture. Maybe you can just stretch your neck a little bit. So we're reminding ourselves of standing up tall if you're somebody that has trouble standing up tall. All the way up nice and tall. Good. Bring those hands back down. Now, like I mentioned, getting out of the showers, stepping and turning, making that first step to turn without shuffling our feet. We're going to practice that now. We're going to practice stepping to one side, warrior pose, Jen Gillick, stepping to the other side, warrior pose. Now, as you do this, you can't see my foot, but I'm turning my foot outward. That's the first movement we need when we turn. If you're anybody that has trouble while you're turning, this is a great exercise, right? That's the functional carryover. If you're somebody that has trouble stepping out or over curves, this is the exercise. We're lifting that leg up high. Try to get that knee up as high as you can. That's it. Let's do 3 more. 1, all the way out. 2, big step, stepping over that shower. 3. So we're thinking about the things that are hard for us during the day. The third movement we're going to do is a weight shift. So when it comes to walking, research has shown that the reason we have smaller steps with Parkinson's, part of it is due to the fact that we don't get our weight from side to side well enough. This is an exercise that works on shifting our weight so that we can take nice big steps. So we're going to come down into a small squat, and then we're going to explode. We're going to reach those arms all the way across our body. We're going to come down and go over to the other side. Good. We're going to do 10 of those. This is 3, 4. You can get all the way onto one leg if you feel comfortable. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we've shifted our weight. We've worked on step. That works on stepping. That works on walking, right? That's the carryover. Last one, a lot of times people have trouble with rotation. So let's work on rotation. I just want you to punch from one side to the other. A little bit of boxing here. We're coming down and then punching across, coming down and punching across. As you do this, keep going. I want you to move and extend your elbow all the way. Feel yourself reach. This is just like you reaching in the bed for the covers to pull them across or throw them off of you. Let's get 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good job. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Get big. 10. Good. That's just like reaching back to get the seatbelt too. So there's a lot of reasons. Now we know that a lot of times rigidity and stiffness in one arm can come from tightness in the trunk. Difficulty rolling in bed can come because we're tight in the trunk. So that was all about loosening us up, getting those functional movements in. Now, the 5th part of my talk is cognition. So we're going to use cognition right now. We just did those 4 movements. Don't you sit down, get back up, get back up. Good job. So we're going to use those 4 movements. You have to remember them. We're going to do the first one. That was just a squat, getting down and up. We're only going to do it twice. Okay, we're going to do it twice. We go down, up, down, up. Second movement. Does anybody remember it? Warrior pose. Together. This is our turn train. We're just going to do it twice. I'm always going to start to this side. The next one was the weight shift. We come down, we come up, down, up. We're going to do that 4 times because it's quick. 3 and 4. Now we come down. The last one was a trunk rotation. We're going to punch together, punch together, punch together, punch together. Now we're going to go right back to the top. We're going to come down, up, down, up. We come back, and now it's the warrior pose together. Just 2 of them. Now we go to the weight shifts. We come down, weight shift, down, shift. 4 times, 3, 4, and now we punch. 1, together, 2, 3, and 4. Here we go, 4. Right back to the squats, down, up, 2 times, up, down, step, together, step, together, shift, together, 4 times, 3, 4, together, punch, punch, punch. Now can you do it all without me saying anything? Here we go. Keep going. Good job. Keep moving big. Last 1, 2, 3, 4. Good work. You can stop there. You did nice. That was solid. I was watching you, Jen. You did a good job. A+. That was cognitive training with physical movement, and hopefully you felt like you were breathing a little bit after about 30 seconds of doing that, right? That's intensive. I'm breathing. If you were using your voice your whole time, you were thinking about speech. You were using your voice. You were using voice training. All these great things. We practiced all these functional movements. That's amplitude, that's intensity, that's consistency if you're doing it regularly. It has a functional carryover, and your mind has to work. And that cognitive portion is the last one. So cognitive dual tasking, what we were just doing, you had to remember the number of repetitions I was asking you to perform, the sequence of exercises I was asking you to perform, and it makes you distracted. And how many of you, show of hands, have noticed that when you're walking with your partner, or if you're in an overstimulating situation, an overcrowded area, that you don't move as well? I can't tell you how many folks have come in just this 2 days ago. Client went to a concert for the first time in 2 years, and walking out of the concert, he had, cycled through his meds. He was kind of in his off state, overcrowded, all kinds of things to look at, people everywhere. He fell down. So these kind of things happen because when we're thinking and moving at the same time, our priorities are constantly changing. We're thinking about carrying on a conversation, what the topic is, then we have to go back to what we're doing with our feet. And this kind of back and forth action is something we've done our whole life very smoothly and very fluidly. But as Parkinson's creeps in, sometimes we prioritize the cognitive portion that we're focused on more than the movement portion. And we need to practice going back and forth, switching between the two things regularly in our exercise. Now, this is easier said than done. It's why, it's one of the reasons why I started Daily Dose PD, because I felt like people just didn't have good ways to get cognitive challenges in. But it's been researched very well to cognition correlates with balance and how well people are able to stay on their feet. A woman named Faye Horak, Horak, does good, wonderful research out of Oregon Health Sciences University. And she looks primarily at Parkinson's, but other neurologic diseases, and tries to figure out why people have balance issues and why people fall. And it's not all about your ability to stand on one foot for 30 seconds. That is one portion of balance, but balance involves so much. What we were just doing there was dynamic balance with cognitive dual tasking. I would take that exercise balance challenge over standing on one foot any day, because our world is revolves around us moving in real life. And we have to change directions, change steps, move with the left, move with the right, do things with our upper body, do things with our mind at the same time, and stay on our feet. So we try to incorporate a lot of the cognitive dual tasks that Faye Horak has researched, whether it's carrying on a fluid conversation while you're walking with a partner. That can be the first place you can start. Can I walk and keep up the same pace, get the same time on this 30-minute walk that I do every day while I'm out with my friend or my wife or my loved one or husband or spouse, and carry on a fluid conversation throughout that? not lose speed. That's one way of dual tasking. Our ability to keep short-term memory. Maybe we go through lists or schedule a calendar through the day while we're exercising, and we try to name off all the things we have to do in the day. Maybe we name off how many vegetables in alphabetical order, fruits in alphabetical order, cities and states or cities in my state that are in alphabetical order. We could do every other letter in the alphabet as we're exercising on the bike or on the treadmill. There's all kinds of different ways to kind of challenge our brain. But there's two really important ways that I try to implement here, and they're called set shifting and inhibition training. So we have a few more minutes left. So we're going to do one more drill. You don't have to get out of your seats here. I'm going to keep you right here, but we're going to box, okay? So we're just going to throw punches. We're going to give you an example of set shifting and how that works into exercise. So I'm going to turn around so it's easier for you to stay with me, so I'm not confusing you with my right or my left. I know over the internet sometimes that gets confusing. So I'm going to keep my hands high, okay? And I'm going to call off punches. And if I say right, we're all going to punch with our right arm and then come back. If I say left, we punch with the left. Simple as that. If we were standing and in a boxing class, it could be more dynamic, but we'll just have fun with this in our chairs. So we're going to start off, and I want you to say the word that I say. Repeat my word. That's important. So we're going to say right. Everybody says right and punches right. Left, left, left. Say it loud. Left, right, 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 left, right, left, 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 right. Good job. You're all geniuses. Good work. Now the challenge is, if you choose to take it, can you say what I say, but move with the opposite hand? Jen's been doing this for years with me, so she's already got it down. But you guys have to say what I say. Don't stay quiet. Do not stay quiet. That's a key. Say what I say, but move with the opposite hand. Okay, repeat my word, move with the opposite hand. Oh, you guys are ready. You're looking good. Tough. All right, here we go. Right. Right. Everybody should have punched with their left hand and said right. Okay. Left. Remember, say what I say. Left. Right. 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 Left. Right. Left. Left. Right. I got some smiles. That's challenging, isn't it? That's called set shifting. That's patting our head and rubbing our belly at the same time. That's when I walk out into a street. I had a patient tell me last week she went overseas a couple years ago to London, and they all drive the wrong way, right? And so she would walk out into the street and be looking whichever way the traffic should be coming in the US. She was looking that way and then realized when she started to take that step, oh my gosh, there's a car coming this way. And she had to adjust on the fly, right? That's exactly what I was having you do. I'd say right, you have to process that in your brain. It's complex, it's not normal, and then you have to come up with a quick answer. That's set shifting, but we do that in real life all the time. If I walk out in this street and I get my light signal to say walk across this busy intersection that's right outside of our clinic, if I have my walking man light, I'm automatically going to think in my mind, my motor cortex says walk. But if there's some guy coming on a bike or a car turning left that is coming into my lane, I have to be prepared to change directions, right? Does that make sense now? That's where falls happen. That's where people freeze or shuffle or festinate and fall. So if we're practicing this proactively, that really helps engage our brain and be ready for those times when we might have this same situation come up in the real world. The next one's called inhibition. How well do you hold back, right? So we're going to do the same punching sequence. You don't have to do opposites this time. You're going to punch and say what I say like we did the first time. So if I say right, we'll all say right as we punch with our right hand. The only caveat is that I have to say go. So this is Simon Says. I say right, go, and you throw the punch and say the word, okay? Right, go. Everyone should say right and punch right. Left, go. Left, go. Left, go. Right, go. Left, go. Right, go. Left, go. Right, go. Left. I got Jen. Yes, I got Jen. Ah. So that's inhibition. It's tough. I got you into a rhythm. I made you think, oh, it's just right, left, right, left. This is easy. This is fun. And then all of a sudden something jumps in your way. You're walking along the street and all of a sudden a cat runs in past you. Can you stop your motor cortex from continuing to go? Or do you end up shuffling or freezing or fascinating? That's what Faye Horak has shown. That's where a lot of the freezing and shuffling comes from. There's this hesitation, but we can't hold it back. We can't inhibit the movement. So as much as we think of Parkinson's as a disease where it slows movement, it also is a disease that impairs our ability to stop moving. I've had patients who have fallen after taking hikes and they can't stop themselves from going down the hill. And they end up falling because they can't put the brakes on. So we have to practice these cognitive tasks while we're moving. And it's really hard to do, I will say. But if you're taking a boxing class, if you're taking Zumba, if you're taking yoga, which can give you a lot of sequencing and changing of different positions. If you're taking, I think I said dance for Parkinson's. Maybe I did. I didn't say dance for Parkinson's. What we just did was dance, right? We did those 4 movements and we were going, that was dance. We were just keeping a sequence going, a pattern going in our brain. We had to change and move. That all creates cognitive dissonance, cognitive challenges that are important to us. We also try to add in a lot of these set shifting and inhibition tasks in therapy. So if you can find, like I said, a power trained therapist or an LSVT big therapist or a neurologic clinical specialist, which you can look on the American Physical Therapy Association website, you can contact them and they'll tell you where neurologic clinical specialists work. They're likely in hospital settings around you in outpatient clinics, but those are great places to go in and find somebody who can help you on ways to implement this stuff at home. Because the cognitive portion is probably the hardest. We also add a lot of these challenges into our videos online, dailydosepd.com. I'm going to stop the share here. Or maybe I think I have, I won't do that with you because I'm running out of time. Yeah, dailydosepd.com is our website where we do online videos. If you're living far away, you can check those out for free for 30 days. Get some of these cognitive challenges in. If you like it and want to keep with it, we do 8 workouts every week that are live or recorded, and it's $29 a month. So that's an option. I know there's a lot of options out there, including APDA, who's doing online training. You can check out my AMP class on Monday, and I'll give you a set shifting task for free through APDA. That'd be good, wouldn't it, Jen? Look at that. Cross collaboration. So she's got the link on that one. You guys can join me on Monday. It will be holiday themed, Christmas themed, and get excited. That'll be fun. And the last, I really want to implement this. They just came out with this study this past year showing patients that are not getting into physiotherapy or exercise. It's gone down throughout the pandemic. We knew it would. I want to encourage everybody, if you're not in an exercise program, if you're not working with a physical therapist, go out and find somebody that you can check in with every so often to make sure you're staying on the ball, even if your symptoms are being held at bay right now. And I think I have, last one. If you have any questions for me, our website's up above. My name's down at the bottom, Nate at the Parkinson'sFitnessProject.com. If you can type all those letters out, you've got pretty good fine motor tasking already in the bag, because I stupidly made my business name every letter of the alphabet. But that's my email. And my number is down below. Feel free to ask me any questions or call us anytime. I hope this has been helpful. And I said I would leave it up for, there's nothing in the chat. I'm gonna undo my hold on all of you. I'll let you all speak. So any questions?
You kept us all busy.
Yeah. What do you have, Marianne?
I had a question. Where does Tai Chi fit into this?
Oh yeah, Tai Chi. I should have said that. Jenny, who does Tai Chi, that's awesome. Great for balance. Think about it. You're sequencing movement, working on weight shifting and stepping in multiple directions. It's smooth, fluid motion, very cognitive. You have to think about every position you're moving through. So super good. I love that. I add that into the, I said Zumba, I said yoga, I said dance, I said boxing. This falls right in line with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I have trouble getting intensive in my workout.
Any
What do you
tips
do?
for,
What do you do for exercise?
recumbent exercise bike?
So have you added, like, this is simple, but adding some arm weights into it as you're on the bike, adding some arm weights, overhead raises, down ground, overhead raises, out to the side, punches, cross punches as you're biking and trying to keep the same cadence up. So if you're biking at 50 RPMs, if that's hard for you to keep 50 revolutions per minute, you should have a dashboard on your recumbent bike. Make sure you can stay there and do 30 seconds of arm punches from side to side and see if you can keep the same RPM up. Like I said, it's not always it builds intensity, not only about having to push yourself, but also the complexity. Can I do two things at once? That makes things harder. If that's not hard enough, then you need to count the repetitions for 30 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, or skip every letter in the ABCs while you're punching. A, C, E, G. You're going to be amazed at how hard that becomes just by using your voice, using your mind, and using your arms.
Thank you.
Boom. I paid Barbara to come in here and give me that question. Anyways, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I have a patient waiting outside right now. So I better let him come in. But if anybody has one more question or anything to say, let me know. I'd love to answer anything. But you can always shoot me an email too.
Nate, is it usual that you might get some more tremors after exercise?
Yeah, that's a common question. And that Miriam Rafferty, she's brilliant. And I was in Chicago for one of her talks, and she was talking about this because there isn't a lot of research on what that means. But I totally agree with her take on it. We're trying to challenge the nervous system. And when we exercise, we want it to be complex and hard. And we want our nervous system to be challenged so that it builds back stronger. And when I see some patients move more fluid after exercise, some get more of a tremor. I'm not afraid of that tremor. I see that as our nervous system being challenged. And like I said, hopefully repairing back better. And there's no research to say that increased tremor during exercise is a progression of symptoms or is moving us further along in the disease. It usually is just intermittent, much like when people are talking in a crowded setting and they might feel a little more tremor because their sympathetic nervous system is running a little hotter. And if you're challenged, and I think those are good experiences for you to function in and through. So
Thank you.
Great job.
Okay.
Thank you, Nate.
Hey, happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays to you.
Oh,
Give big
Karen.
hugs to those kiddos of yours, and we'll see you in the new year.
All right,
guess.
stay motivated, everybody. You can do this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Nate.
Bye.
All right, so before we wrap up, I thought that I would point you in the direction of a couple of resources. I will send Nate's PowerPoint out. I'll send the recording of the video, but I want to show you where you find two specific resources on the APDA website. So you may have already poked around everywhere on the APDA website, but it's a little funky to navigate, I will admit. So I'm going to share my screen here. Can everybody see the APDA website? Give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Okay, so this is the section of the website that is the Northwest chapter. So we have sort of this umbrella of the national organization, and then the Northwest chapter or the Massachusetts chapter or the Georgia chapter are all kind of underneath that. So anything on this dark blue bar and above, like these links tend to be all things that are available to everybody out of our national office. That includes this link that's up here in the tiny little corner for our virtual events. So these are all the events that are open to anybody across, well, the world, that are all virtual. And so I'm going to click on that, and I'll just give you a little tiny bit of an idea of what's available. You can filter it by month, or you can filter it by the type of program that you are looking for, education or health and wellness. But if you click health and wellness and you filter, you will see, if my internet decides to work, come on, there we go. there is a plethora of free exercise programs
Oh.
that you can take from the comfort of your own room. So there's a variety all here. And so you can see
Wow.
that just about every day of the week, there are exercise classes, including this AMP Fitness, which is Nate, his free class at 12:15 on Mondays, that you can take part in. You do need to register for them, and then we will send you the Zoom link for all of these. So they're from voice to physicality to big moves to brain function. So just finding something that interests you and that works for a time is totally doable. So that is the virtual events calendar. So it is right up, again, up in this very top right-hand corner of our website. Any questions about that?
No, that's great.
Hey, the other place that I wanted to give you resources is we have this really interesting resource for you called the National Rehab Center. So it's underneath education and support.
Be you.
And let me take that down. So it is run out of Boston University that has a very great rehabilitation program. They have a hotline. So you can call or email the National Rehab Hotline, and you can ask questions, fitness and PT related questions of a licensed physical therapist, and they're going to help guide you as far as exercise programs. They will also help if they can help you find a Parkinson's trained therapist as well as your local chapters can do that. They don't know everything in the country. They use a lot of the resources that Nate talked about in his talk, but that is a resource that is open to you to call that 1-800 number and talk to people. So those are the two resources. There is a ton of stuff on the APDA website, almost too much stuff, but because it can get kind of overwhelming by the amount of things. But the thing that I think is there are resources out there. You just gotta seek them out. So that is what I wanted to show you in that regard. Any questions about that?
Thank you.
Helpful.
Okay, great.
Super.
So this is the last day of our 4 days together. So thank you very much for being a part of this. When you exit, there will be a survey link that pops up. I'll also put it in the post-event email. So, you know, we like to improve programs or hear your feedback about what your experience has been. It's not a very long survey. It won't take you very long, but if you will take some time to just give us some feedback, that would be terrific. And I will put these videos together as well as the PowerPoint so that you can resource and access that. So anything else for me? Any questions? Anything I can help you with before we say farewell for now?
Thank you for everything.
You are very welcome.
Thank you.
I hope that you at least got a nugget of information out of these 4 days of programs.
yeah.
That is my hope. So
Very informative. Thank you very much.
you
Very
are welcome, Ron. Absolutely. Thank you. And we will have more programs. So I'm working on a lot of things for 2022. So hopefully you'll see something of interest. We are virtual for now. We'll see when that changes, and we will always continue doing virtual programs. They're here to stay, even when we can get back in person and start exercising in person. So it's just going to be a sort of hybrid world. So
I have
Yes,
a question
Marianne.
for you, Jen. Will our contact information be used to let us know about any future events?
yes, you are now officially on our email list. So you will get informed about different programs that are coming out.
And is that through the PDA or specifically Northwest?
So it is through the Northwest chapter. We don't have a national database, shockingly. We're working on that, but each chapter has their own. So you'll be part of that.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, I hope that any other questions before I say goodbye? Okay, well, thank you very much for being a part of this, and expect an email from me probably by the end of day tomorrow. And feel free to reach out if things come up or you have questions. So I wish each and every one of you a very happy holidays, whatever you're doing, whatever you're celebrating, and stay warm and dry and healthy. And we'll see you at a future program. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.